Have you ever wondered why Disney chose to build a water-based attraction based on a controversial Disney movie?
Have you ever been curious about why that same water ride is right next to the most haunted and scariest attraction Disneyland has to offer? And how did they get the idea of a water-based attraction from a movie that doesn't have a lot of water in it? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the very first episode of Andy's Playground. I'm your host as always, Andy, and today we're going to be looking at a particular personal favorite attraction of mine, Splash Mountain. We're going to be covering a brief history of everyone's favorite laughing place and hopefully answering some questions many of you have had along the way. We'll mostly be focusing on the Disneyland Resort version of the attraction since it's the original, but I'll try to include some facts about the other versions as well. So first off, I want to tell you all a little story called Disney's Song of the South. Song of the South was produced by Walt Disney in 1946 and takes place during the Reconstruction era of the United States, shortly after the Civil War. It starred individuals like James Baskett as Uncle Remus, who also voiced one of the crows in Dumbo, and Bobby Driscoll as Johnny, who later went on to voice Peter Pan in Disney's animated feature. There's a fun fact I bet you didn't know. Anyways, to be brief, the story showcases Uncle Remus teaching Johnny several life lessons about running away, not getting involved with things you shouldn't be, and finding ways to be happy in tough times. Each story being told through the characters of Brer Rabbit, Brer Bear, and Brer Fox, just to name a few. Being from the South, I could go on and on with my thoughts on this movie, but I would stray away from the point of the video. But I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the beautiful portrayal of Uncle Remus by James Baskett. Yes, it's a controversial movie, but when I think of this movie and this ride itself, I can't help but picture this amazing and wise character done by an even more charming and amazing actor. Anyways, personally, I think the movie has a lot of great points, but like I said, and as many people know, it was very controversial for a number of reasons. Due to all of the surrounding circumstances with all the controversial reasons here, Disney banned and retconned the film from public release in 1986, and pretty much all you can find nowadays is bootleg copies online or old VHS tapes. Song of the South and the characters contained therein were off to their own briar patches and laughing places. However, 3 years before Disney retconned all of the copies of Song of the South, an amazing and well-known Imagineer by the name of Tony Baxter, who's famous for rides like Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, came up with the idea of a log flume ride in an area known as Bear Country at the time, which according to an article from the LA Times, was only attracting 2% of parkgoers on a busy day. Think about how many guests go into the park on a daily basis, and imagine just 2% of that in Bear Country. It's not a lot of people. The idea was to create an attraction that could cover three major problems. Bring more guests over to the Country Bear Jamboree and Bear Country in general. Reuse animatronics from America Sings, which was an attraction located in Tomorrowland that was having its own poor attendance issues. And number three, overcoming a too original idea of a log flume concept. You see, that last one showed that even back then, Disney Imagineers were more focused on being innovative, and a log flume concept was something that practically every single amusement park had. They wanted it to be original. They wanted it to be a log flume concept never even seen before. They didn't want to have some kind of, wild mouse coaster that every theme park and state fair has. The movie Song of the South must have seemed perfect for Baxter since it included a southern charm and loads of woodland animals, something that would be perfect right next to the Country Bear Jamboree. But it's still an interesting concept that Disney retconned the movie the ride would be based on a year before the construction even began. Retconned or not, construction did begin with an eventual whopping budget of $75 million, with the title of the ride planned on being known as A Dee Doo Dah River Run. To put that in perspective, Disneyland itself cost about $17 million. Based on an inflation calculator, $17 million in 1955 would cost about $70 to $72 million in 1987. Add another $3 million on there and you could have yourself a very own Splash Mountain. They literally stated that you could build another park to what it cost to build Splash Mountain. Now, one interesting thing a lot of you may not realize is the fact that other than the occasional river or two, Song of the South doesn't contain a heck of a lot of water, so how did Disney executives solve that problem? According to the Disney Wiki page and the Disney Parks blog, a moonshining raccoon named Rackety made a slight but disastrous error. While mixing an experimental batch of moonshine, his juice-producing setup ended up exploding and being blown sky high. Apparently, Rackety had built his juice still in the woods that backed up to the dam of an industrious Beaver Brothers crew, which burst the dam and flooded the whole valley and all the tunnels within Chickapin Hill. The critters then renamed the hill to Splash Mountain. Now, it's kind of an interesting story with not a lot of references to any major Disney characters, so it could or could not be true. But it's better than Michael Eisner's idea of focusing around the movie starring Tom Hanks and a scantily-clad mermaid called Splash, which I'm sure all of you have heard about. Anyways, the name Splash kind of stuck, and so it became Splash Mountain. Let's take a brief break and talk about the schematics of the Splash Mountain ride itself. The ride itself is a 9 to 10 minute log flume ride through caverns and caves with critters all over the place and stands 87 feet tall. There are over 100 audio animatronic critters that call Splash Mountain home, the majority of which were carried over directly from the America Sings attractions and refitted with some new additions for the characters of Brer Rabbit, Brer Bear, and Brer Fox. The ride itself contains well over 475,000 gallons of water and pumps out 20,000 gallons per minute. And of course contains the 52.5-foot drop that has a decline of 47 degrees with a speed of 40 miles per hour. At the time of its creation, it was the largest flume chute of its kind. Some of the funnier things that occurred during the making of the Song of the South creation was that the ride worked a little too well, in the sense that early riders, who were sometimes made up of Disney executives, were getting way too wet on the ride. And in my opinion, to imagine Disney executives wearing suits riding Splash Mountain is a really funny image in my head. Anyways, to fix the issue, they made the boats lighter by making sure the weight of each boat weighs a certain amount before launching. This, among other issues, caused Splash Mountain to open later than scheduled, but it finally did open on July 17th, 1989, 34 years exactly that Disneyland opened. When Splash Mountain opened, it was an immediate hit with crowds. Everyone loved the ride, especially the drop, and the ride soon began living up to the name the Disney executives were giving it, called Cash Mountain. Michael Eisner got those dollar sign eyes that you see in cartoons, and less than 3 years later, both the Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World and Tokyo Disneyland both received the Splash Mountain, each opening a day after the other. The Magic Kingdom version being much larger with a 950,000 gallon water reservoir, and the Tokyo version having an even larger drop. As for Disneyland, Bear Country was renamed Critter Country, and it stuck to this day, which makes perfect sense since the only bears you see there nowadays are Brer Bear and Winnie the Pooh. From what I've heard, one person who didn't exactly like the ride itself was Imagineer Mark Davis. Mark was famous for creating and improving rides such as Pirates of the Caribbean, Jungle Cruise, and America Sings. According to his wife Alice Davis, Mark was actually very upset about the ride and the fact that they were using the animatronics that he designed for the closing America Sings attraction, and they instead used them in Splash Mountain. And in consequence, he actually never went on Splash Mountain. However, people would tell him that Splash Mountain seemed to be a fitting place for the critters, and that the ride felt that it carried the memory of America Sings. America Sings is its own kind of faded attraction and extinct attraction, which I think would be a lot of fun to talk about on this channel, but for now let's keep going with Splash Mountain. Personally, I feel that the theming of Song of the South is an interesting choice, but based on the characters contained therein, I couldn't think of a better Southern concept that would have better solved the issues that Disney executives were facing. Not to mention that they made an amazing ride with what they had. When I look at Splash Mountain today, and I'm sure the same goes for many guests and probably you, I don't remember Song of the South in the sense of what the movie was about. I look at it for its characters and charm, which frankly is what Disney executives were going for. However, I encourage you guys to check out Song of the South, if anything but to see the background behind these characters and stories. They do teach a powerful lesson, and I think all of us could benefit from it. Splash Mountain is one of my favorite rides, and it's many others' favorites too. But what do you guys think? I want to hear your opinions too. Leave a comment down below, and I can't wait to see what you guys think. And as always, stay positive, my friends. Well, it's time to be moving along. Let me know what you guys want me to look into next, whether they be attractions or rides or whatever, and I'll dig into it. Leave a like and subscribe if you like this video and you want to see more. See you next time and have a zippity doo dah day.
Hey guys, so one of the things I will be doing with each one of these videos is a little shout out to a channel that really means a lot to me or inspires me so that you guys can go see their stuff too. For my first shout out, I decided to do it for the guy who really inspired me to make all of these videos. Offhand Disney is by far one of my favorite people to watch. Offhand Disney, or Dallin Smith, is a brilliant and funny Disney nerd where he dives into all kinds of theories and Disney history. His style of videos is very close to what mine are geared to be, and I just have a ton of respect for what he does. My favorite video of his is linked in the description below, and it's about a major Disney theory I personally believe in called the Jean Lafitte theory, as he calls it, which links the Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, Tom Sawyer Island, and other Disneyland stuff together. It's really funny and crazy, and I just encourage you guys to check him out. Dallin, if you ever see this video for some reason, please know that I'm a big fan of your work, and I look forward to seeing more of it in the future. Thanks for the inspiration, and have a great day, everyone.